Hello, everybody. This is going to be a follow up from my last podcast about Mummy Ramblings, but I'm expanding on that. It's like a part two, so to speak. It's about Mummy Ramblings and Bam's old friends. Now, it's getting to the part of the year that I love the most, the fall. Fall is my favorite season. The fall winter season is my favorite. I love autumn. I love when the leaves change. I love when the leaves are falling on the floor. I love to get away from the heat and the flies. And I love fall. I love pumpkins. I love the idea of Halloween. But, I know there's still a way to go. And also, it's approaching nighttime, which is my favorite part of the day because it's when I get cozy, like my candles, watch Netflix or watch something. So I'm going to try and concentrate as much as I can. I'm actually in relaxation mode. So I'm going to try and explain myself as best as I can. I'm in relaxation mode and my concentration is not as great as it should be. So anyone who knows about the BAM MRB situation, and I talked about MRB, Merb, Mummy Ramblings, winning, practically pretty much winning the case against her in my last podcast. But MRB said something that was very poignant. She said that the case wasn't dismissed, Heather's claims were dismissed. And that's actually quite accurate. However, I do see it as Heather's case was dismissed rather than just her claims. But people have tried to switch that around by saying the case was dismissed so that everything was dismissed and tried to spin it that, MRB's counterclaims were dismissed, so everything was dismissed. So I totally understand why MRB clarifies that Heather's claims against her were dismissed, and that is the truth. Now, I speak about this in with objectivity. I'm not friends with MRB. I'm not friends with her. But I have no issues with her. I've never had a personal conversation with her, and I've never had any issues with her. So I'm quite objective and neutral when it comes to her. I know that a lot of people have had their own issues with her, so they will speak about her in a different way from what I will speak. I'm more neutral, I'm more objective, I'm more in the middle. Likewise, Bam's old friends, R and W, that's what I will call them for now. I don't know them. I only know about them through Bam talking about the Sin situation. And it's interesting because I was just listening to something that Bam said in a recording, and she was saying that Randy was as dry as a bone with her after the Sin situation and wasn't comforting to her and wasn't sympathetic towards her. And the whole Sin situation, well, to cut a long story short, Sin was an online friend of Bam's who claimed she was dating a rock star and that she had a son with this rock star. And Bam believed it. She also claimed that because of her relationship with this rock star, that she had a lot of money and that she was going to give Bam some of this money. Bam believed it, was waiting for her big payday, and well, to the point where she actually apparently got dressed up, packed a suitcase, was going to go to this hotel, this 5-star hotel. And eventually Bam found out that her friend Sin was full of it and that Sin wasn't going to give her any money. And apparently after that, Bam had the worst Christmas that she's ever had. But I'm not particularly sympathetic to the situation either, because why would you believe that somebody's going to give you... Sin apparently promised to give her thousands of pounds. Look, I'm not somebody... I'm somebody who is very doubtful of everything. I don't believe something until I see it. And when it comes to money, I don't believe it until I see it, until it's in my bank account. So I'm very skeptical of people saying those types of things and promising people the world and promising people that they're going to give them millions or thousands or hundreds. So I'm really not sympathetic to the situation, but it was a situation. And the reason why I knew about Randy was because Bam mentioned her. And I wish I hadn't said her name, but eventually I will probably put that out, what Bam said about Randy being as dry as a bone with her after the whole Sin situation. Anyway, MRB and Bam's old friends are in a bit of a back and forth, to cut a long story short. So there's this back and forth where going on right now where they say one thing, MRB tries to correct what they've said, then they respond, then MRB responds, then they respond, then there's another response, and there's a back and forth. She said this, she said that, I'm going to reply, I'm going to correct this. There seems to be that going on. And apparently, MRB called them a failed drama channel when it comes to discussing cases. And, you know, that's her opinion. And also, they actually see, I'm in relaxation mode, so I'm really in relaxation mode, and I've got to concentrate to be able to talk. If you know anything about the Bam situation and who Bam was, she was basically somebody who ranted and raved on her live streams, particularly in the last few months of her life, because she was very bitter about her situation. She was an unhappy person. So she took that unhappiness out on other people. And unfortunately for MRB, Bam, you know, she was a target of Bam's rants. But I never heard MRB responding to Bam. And as far as I'm concerned, like with many people, MRB is kind of having the last, you know, kind of had the last laugh, because Bam was going around targeting people and ranting and raving at people, and look how she ended up, you know. And that's a whole nother situation. But Bam really went for MRB. She really didn't like her and really went for her. And I think Bam probably resented the fact that MRB had 40,000 subscribers. Now, I know a lot of people will say her views, MRB's views, are not what they used to be when she was doing the Watts case. And that's true. However, with most channels will go through peak and valleys. There might be a time where you're going through a high point and you're getting lots of views, and then those views will drop off, and then they might pick up again. But the fact of the matter is, she still has over 40,000 views, which is quite good. So, and it's certainly a lot more than what Bam had. So, you know, Bam really went for MRB. And this is kind of the irony that Bam wasn't happy about the way that Randy R handled the Sin situation, was very critical of Randy R. I'll try and refrain from saying Randy. And now it so happens that MRB is in a back and forth with an ex-friend of Bam's. So it's just like the cycle continues. But, you know, I think the channel said that they would, you know, they were going to move on from MRB, but I don't think they can move on from MRB because they're obsessed with MRB. And they're obsessed with talking about her, and it gets them views and it gets them engagement. So I don't see them moving on from MRB. And it seems like they're still obsessing over the case, which the case is over and done with. Heather's claims were dismissed, just like MRB said. And it's not because, you know, like I said, I'm not friends with MRB, so I've got no reason to speak glowingly of her or be defending her or anything like that. I'm just speaking from my perspective, what I've seen, what's been shown, and I'm just speaking the honest truth, regardless of my feelings or my like or dislike for anybody. I just say it like it is, I speak the truth, and I try to keep my personal feelings out of my opinions. But, you know, they're talking about how they're going to read transcripts of the case. I mean, the case is done and Heather's claims were dismissed, so I don't see why they would want to do that. But I guess, you know, if it's going to get them views and engagement by talking about something that's really over and done with, and where you know, MRB, their nemesis, basically came out as the, you know, I mean, pretty much won the case. You know, she was pretty much victorious, but for one or two things. Like I said, if somebody brought a case against me and they got dismissed, their case got dismissed, their claims got dismissed, I would see that as a victory. So I don't know why they would want to go over all that again and over all the judge that said, you know, because at the end of the day, what the judge thinks of MRB really has no bearing on the verdict and the outcome, which was quite favourable to MRB. I made a mistake. I said that, mistakenly said that MRB has 40,000 views when I meant to say that she has over 40,000 subs. And I was just doing that to explain what I was explaining in the second part of this podcast. But, you know, I'm tired and sleepy and, you know, I just want to enjoy my dinner. I'm having this very bowl of soup that you see in the picture, except that it has the addition of corn this time. I'm eating some leftover special fried rice, and I just want to get cozy, watch Netflix. I'm watching Wednesday on Netflix, which is really good. And so my concentration levels are just not there. I've got to be honest with you. You know, when Bam passed, I really thought that things would quieten down on YouTube and that there would be less drama. But unfortunately, there seems to be even more drama now than when she was here, which seems ridiculous. And um, that's just the way it is, I guess. But I hope everyone has a nice weekend, a good evening. There's Carnival on in London this weekend, but I won't be going. The Caribbean Carnival is on every single year at this time, and a lot of people celebrate it, and it's a great way to display Afro-Caribbean culture. But yeah, I really just want summer to be over, and I just want, roll on the fall, roll in the autumn. I just prefer that season by far. It's been quite a challenging summer for me, to say the least. But thank you for listening, and thank you very much for watching.